Hi guys, welcome. Well, as promised, here's the new headstock unit that I've built using the new pulleys and belts that I ordered. As you can see, I've done a little bit of work on my table as well. I cut the piece of MDF off that used to sit here. That's allowed me to get everything a bit lower. I removed the timber that was sitting in here and replaced it with these two pieces here, which I sat and levelled off so it matches and is parallel with the tabletop here. That allows me to take this here and place it in here like so. So let's take a look at how to build the new headstock unit. I'm making this out of 18mm plywood. This particular piece has a melamine coating on both sides, and I think it'll make it look quite nice when it's finished. The material is 18mm thick, and you can use either plywood or MDF, whatever you have laying about. This project is double-sided. On the first side we're going to be pocketing 4 holes for some recessed bolts. The board will then be flipped over and the rest of it will be cut out. If you're unsure about how to double-side a board, look up my other YouTube videos on double-siding. We can now turn this board over and cut from the other side. The next job is to drill a hole right through the centre of this plywood and out the other side, and that's what these 2 alignment notches are for, to help get the drill bit aligned. Now I've got 2 problems here. First is there's no way this drill bit is going to make it all the way through this piece of material in one shot. I'm going to have to drill it from both sides. Second thing is, if I thought even for a minute that I could actually drill this by holding this vertical and running the drill through, I would really need my head seeing to. There's no way I can do that. But fortunately, there's an easy way of doing it. Drill press tables are actually made to swivel. So I'm just going to swivel the table around here, drop the drill down, and bring the table around until the table is sitting flush up against the drill bit here. I can now tighten the bolt on the back of the drill press table, and that'll hold it in that position. That ensures that the table is perfectly parallel to the drill bit. Now I can move it side to side like so. So the next job is I need to align the centre of the drill bit with the centre of the plywood. Unfortunately with plywood it's really easy, because plywood is always made up of an uneven number of plies. So picking the centre one and getting that bit lined up with the centre of it is pretty simple. If you can't see it in the notch, just move it slightly outside the notch. Just tap it across until the centre of the drill is right where you want it. Just like so. Now there's still no way I can hold this here and drill a hole through it. I'll end up coming out the side. So what I need to do is put some sort of a fence in place. So I'm just going to take a piece of scrap plywood and a clamp. And I'm just going to quickly clamp it just lightly to the table here. I'm going to put my piece of board up against it, and I'm going to bring it across until it's roughly in the right position here. It's a little bit fiddly, but it's well worth spending the time to get it correct. Like so. And I'll just tighten that up a little bit. Now, that doesn't ensure that we're going to be drilling straight through here, so the way to check that is to bring the drill press down, the drill bit down, and check it. Put the drill back in the notch here and check it against the fence. And as you can see, I'm nowhere near where I should be, so I'm just going to bring that there over like so. And hopefully now I'm nice and parallel all the way down. So I'm now going to take a second clamp and just put that on the bottom here to make sure that this is held in the right place. I'll tighten the top one. Yeah, you're going to find that just holding this in place when drilling the hole through will be quite difficult. The easiest solution to that is simply put another piece of plywood in here so that it can't go backwards on you when you're drilling your hole. From here, we have to drill all our holes from both sides and get everything in alignment. Make sure you clear all the chips out of here, otherwise it won't sit properly. And there we have it. Our hole's drilled and it's in perfect alignment. We can see right through it. While we're at the drill press table, we might as well drill out these here to their final size and do our countersink for the screws as well. And while we're at it, we need to do the same on the bottom. On this side here, we don't need to go as deep as we did on the other. This side, the head of the screw is going to be pulled into there, just below the surface. This side here, it's just a little bit taken out so that any burr that is created when we put the screw in can go into that area there. Stops the two pieces coming apart. So here is the full selection of parts required to assemble the headstock. You can see the parts here that we cut. We've got a couple of self-centering bearings and pillow blocks. We've got some threaded rods, some bolts, some screws, stepper motor, timing pulley belt, and our shaft. I'm going to start by attaching the first pillow block bearing to this piece here, the piece with the cutout in it. Now just a quick word about these bearings here. It's got a cast iron pillow block here, and this is the bearing itself. The bearing just simply drops in, swivels around, and then can't come out. This bearing should be able to move freely within the casting here, and when you get it, it probably won't be able to. You're going to need to free it up. Put a piece of appropriately sized rod in there, work it backwards and forwards, grease it up, make sure it can move relatively freely. Doesn't need to be loose, but it does need to move freely. Otherwise, this just won't work. I'm going to put mine in place here, and to do that, I'm going to be using 4 10mm bolts. This piece has the 4 recesses in it, so that these bolts sit flush. And I'm going to put this in here so that the grease nipple here points up, so that if it ever needs to be got at easily, it can be without having to pull the whole thing apart. Next, I'm going to put the motor in place. For that, I've got some small bolts here. Just get the ones that suit the holes in your motor. This is a NEMA 23 motor, so that's what the drawing is for. Now, one piece that's not on the drawing is this hole here. This is the hole I'm going to use to bring this cord out of. So I'm going to do that now while I can get at it easily. If you're unsure how this is meant to be wired, consult the manual for your controller and also the spec sheet for your stepper motor. The slot in here should be big enough to allow this gear here to turn freely without getting in the way, and should allow the motor to slide backwards and forwards like so. You need to make sure you put the pinion on the stepper first, because once it's in here you're going to find it very hard to get at these screws here, although on mine it's actually not too bad. So, but do it first, put it in place, make your life a lot easier. So we can put this piece aside now, and we're going to come to this piece here. Now we need to put the bearing on this, and we need to make sure we put the bearing on the right side of this here, because it has to match up with this piece here. So that's going to go there like that, so that bearing is going to go here like this. Again, I've just made this finger tight. We can now start looking at these pieces here. Now I've chosen to use threaded rod to hold this together. It will give me a really strong construction. If you want, and if you don't want to drill these holes through, just simply screw it if you want. You won't be able to glue at least one of the sides, because you're going to need to be able to get into this box to change out the stepper motor if your stepper motor is too long. I made mine so that I could make it pretty much as short as I could without going overboard, but it's such that I cannot get the stepper motor out when this is fully enclosed. So threaded rod will go through like so, then a piece of plywood, and just make sure your bolts there are loose so that the bearing can move across. We've got another one to put here, and we better do the one on the other side as well. I can drop this one here in as well, and this can just simply drop on top. Like so. Again, I'm putting a large washer on, a spring washer, and a nut. Now it's important when putting this together that these pieces here are nice and flush and aligned properly. If you haven't got enough adjustment to get them right, just grab a bigger drill and run it through the center of the two boards here, and that will get you the alignment adjustment that you need. But it is critical that they be aligned flush along here and along there. Next, we're going to take our shaft and put the pulley on it. Now I'm not going to give you any measurements for the shaft, it's simply a matter of just slipping a piece of metal in there and working out how long it needs to be to suit your needs. You'll find that this piece of the pulley is made to recess in this hole here. So it's important that we put this on first because we're not going to get another shot at it. So just make sure you do these up nice and tight. Your set screws are at 90 degrees to one another, which is where they should be. They shouldn't be opposite one another on this type of thing. Put them there at 90 degrees, you get them on good and tight, and that keeps them from coming loose and out of alignment. So next I'm just going to push this in and through here. Now, next thing I need to do is work out exactly where this has to sit. So I'm going to put this here, slide my stepper motor across there and pull it tight. And I just need to position this so that the belt runs around about the center of the small pulley here. Around about there, looks correct. So now again, the pulleys here have set screws in them, so I'm just going to nip up the first one here, like so. Just lightly. I'm also just going to lightly nip up this. Now I want to get this bearing here aligned as well. Basically I'm just going to bring this up almost flush to the top there. Use the top edge here as a reference and just keep it parallel, and then I can nip up these bolts here. Can be a bit difficult getting in here now that I've got the side on. Now that the bearing's in there tight, I can now tension the stepper motor. Again, don't over tighten it. That's good. Double check how the belt's running, and that looks like it's running pretty good. I do need to get the bearing body here aligned up properly. So again, I'm just going to use this top edge here as a reference. Try and keep it aligned the same as the other bearing. These butt nuts here are a lot easier to tighten up because they are easily accessible. To finish this off, we now have a nut. This nut here I've just taken down on the grinder because I I didn't have two spanners that would fit properly, so I decided I'd just modify this nut a little bit so I could use a slightly smaller spanner on it. And it's used to lock the spur against, so the spur goes on like so, and then I can simply lock the two together. We have it there. Last but not least, we have this piece here, and it just goes on the bottom like so. Now I'm just going to line this here up by eye, and of the two I want this side here with the drive lined up nice and flush, because it's going to go against my rail down on my bed. So I'm just going to start by winding a screw in. If you find it's not quite right, just a wee tap with a hammer will bring it nice and flush. That's perfect. For the three screws along this side and 3 screws along this edge, I'm using 1-inch screws, and that's because any longer they'll end up bottoming out on the threaded rod running through here. So that's just something to bear in mind. Now last but not least, I'm just going to run a cable tie around the motor, and I'm just going to cable tie the cable here to the motor, and the purpose of that is to give this a strain relief so that it can't be pulled off and broken. I then have a nice 3mm piece of plywood here that I've drilled holes in, and that's going to screw to the top to seal our box off. Now they've got the stepper plugged into the controller, let's have a look at the backlash on this. And there it is there, and that's taken, you can see as I toggle over a step on the stepper motor, so that's sort of not counted. There's the amount of backlash in the whole system. It's not very much. What we're looking at is flex in the belt. If I try moving that by hand, I can't. That doesn't move at all. So really that's not backlash. The belt's nice and tight. Effectively, backlash on this is 0. Only when I put an unreasonable amount of force on it can I get any flex in this. And like I said, that is belt stretch I'm looking at, and there's no way around that. It's absolutely minuscule. So that's a vast improvement over the gearbox arrangement I had, and a bit better than I had as well with the other belt because it wasn't fitting properly into the gears. Let's wind it up and see how fast it goes. There it is running at full speed. Under config, pins and ports, motor outputs, I've disabled the Y-axis, left and created an A-axis using, I've entered in here the pins on my G540, and I've made both step and direction active low, and of course my port settings. You'll know what your settings you require on your own machine, but if you're using a G540, then there's step pin 8 and direction pin 9. Next we're going to have a look at motor tuning, and I'll select the A axis, and we can see down here steps per movement is 27.777778. We work this out by calculating how many steps it takes to do one full revolution of the rotary axis shaft, and then divide 360 into that number. So the stepper motor is 200 steps per revolution. I'm using a G540, so that has micro stepping of 10, so that's 2000 steps. And then my pulley combination is a 5-to-1, so the motor needs to turn 5 times to give one revolution of the shaft. So 5 by 2000 is 10,000. So it now takes 10,000 steps to rotate that shaft once. If I divide 360 into 10,000, I'm left with this figure here of 27.7777. And that's how many steps it takes to turn 1 degree on the A axis. I've set a velocity of 16,000 millimeters per minute and an acceleration of 4,000 millimeters per second. The other setting I need to go do was go into config, general config, and just here we have A axis is angular, and I've just checked that. And basically that's all there was to setting up the rotary axis. Now, one thing I forgot to mention when I was putting the headstock together was my choice of shaft and bearings. That's determined by this. It's the coupling nut used to make the spur drive out of. In this case, 12mm coupling nut, 12mm shaft, 12mm bearings. It doesn't matter which you use though, 12mm or 1/2 inch. The bearing pillow blocks are actually the same in both cases. It's only the bearing on the inside that changes. The thread in the end of the shaft I just put in by hand using a tap and die set. I just made a 12mm thread to match my coupling nut. On the rear of the shaft, you'll notice I cut that down on a lathe to 8mm to suit the hole that was already in the pulley. You don't need to worry about that. If you've got a pulley with an 8mm hole in the centre, put it in the drill press, drill it out to 12mm or 1/2 inch, whatever your shaft diameter is, and you're away and laughing. And that particular pulley has a lot of meat in it. You can drill quite a large hole in there before you run out of aluminium to cut. So you don't need a lathe to complete this job. Basically, a simple drill press is all you require. So that's the headstock rebuild so far. I need to start working on a new tailstock design now. It'll probably be very similar to the old one. How you choose to attach the headstock to your machine is entirely up to you. I've chosen this particular method on mine because it suits my machine. If I had my way, the headstock would actually be mounted on the actual CNC table itself, but I just don't have the height to work that. So I'm stuck with having to have it out the front. For those of you wanting to build your own headstock, I'll put a link in the description box below to where you can download the files I used to cut the box, and I'll also put links in to where I found the parts, the belts, the pulleys, etc. for making it. Depending on what stepper motor you choose to use, you may need to make the box larger to get the motor in there, or you can make it smaller if you can. It's entirely up to you. The smaller you make the box, the more cutting distance you're going to have. In the meantime, thanks for watching, and I'll catch you guys later. Cheers.